In addition to understand white supremacy structure and design, you got to understand how you benefit, how you come to be in a privileged position because of that design, and not to feel ashamed, but to be activated to do something positive. Okay, that's why the diversity of the community of the attendees is so important. So we got young people at the conference, we got people looking at religious, we got people looking at ability, we got people looking at race, we got people looking at gender. So it's really creating an incubator, a kind of learning atmosphere where we're looking at the highest level of challenges associated with issues of diversity.
That's Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., and this is, well, that went sideways, a podcast that serves as a resource to help people have healthy, respectful communication. We present a diversity of ideas, tools, and techniques to help you transform conflict in relationships of all kinds. In this episode, we bring you voices from the 2024 White Privilege Conference held in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The conference was founded by Dr. Eddie Moore Jr. over 20 years ago. It seeks to empower and equip people to work for a more equitable and just world. In addition to recording several full-length conversations with some of the presenters at the conference, the Sideways team also did some short interviews with various participants. We'll hear from 4 of them in this episode. But first, Dr. Eddie Moore, founder of the Privilege Institute and the White Privilege Conference, gives us some background on the conference.
One thing I love about the White Privilege Conference is it's Black genius. It's a Black idea. It's started by a Black person, ran by a Black person, unapologetically. That's so important because what we're trying to do there is not about just answering the one group of people, not about pointing at white people and saying white people bad, and this is how things are going to get better. So the White Privilege Conference, even though white is in the title, is really about white supremacy, that foundational framework that was so harmful, but also so critical to America's founding. And what I argue as a founder is we can't really build justice, equity in a structure designed by white supremacy, white male cultural dominance, if we don't understand that structural design. So that's the basic premise of the White Privilege Conference, not blaming, not shaming white people, but really challenging all of us to understand white supremacy design, white male cultural dominance framework, so that we could truly continue to push for the kind of America that we've been grappling and trying to create for hundreds of years. Not to blame, not to shame, but to challenge us all to better understand. And on top of that, this framework produces privilege for all of us. We argue that everybody's got privilege. It just manifests itself in very different ways. I spoke to this earlier. So the idea of understanding how this privilege comes about for you is not to, again, make you feel bad, but to challenge you to do something positive with it. And so in addition to understand white supremacy structure and design, you got to understand how you benefit, how you come to be in a privileged position because of that design, and not to feel ashamed, but to be activated to do something positive. Okay, that's why the diversity of the community of the attendees is so important. So we got young people at the conference, we got people looking at religious, we got people looking at ability, we got people looking at race, we got people looking at gender. So it's really creating an incubator, a kind of learning atmosphere where we're looking at the highest level of challenges associated with issues of diversity. That was really important in putting the conference together, is we wanted to create what I call calculus diversity or CrossFit diversity, a real high level of challenge of content to really push us beyond diversity 101, Diversity 201, because a lot of people got to start where they are. And there are a lot of folks who are good people and they just haven't had exposure. They don't know the terms, they don't know the challenges. So we really think that there's needed space for folks to have opportunity to learn about diversity 101, 201, and some of those elements. But after that, you got to be ready to go to the next level of looking at systems, organizations, institutions. That's really what we've been trying to create in the design of the White Privilege Conference. So let me say this lastly, because you can Google White Privilege Conference, the website comes up. It'll give you some ideas about workshops. It'll give you some ideas about themes. I mean, we're going to 23rd year. 1999 was the first year we began planning the White Privilege Conference. And the first conference happened in 2000, and we've been going ever since. But let me also say this. The conference is also designed for people who do diversity work. I used to, and still, I ask people all the time, if you take yoga, do you ever wonder where your yoga teacher goes to yoga? Like, who challenges the teacher? So we also wanted white privilege, and we continue to build this space for people who do social justice work to also have a space where they get challenged, where they do their work. And we ask all of our speakers not only to come and present their work, but also come and do their work. So wanting all of your listeners to know that wherever they fall on that spectrum, whether they're a high school student or a teacher or a young professional, corporate, social justice, nonprofit, for-profit, wherever you are, we're trying to create a space where we can look at some of the toughest work associated with diversity and inclusion, white supremacy, white privilege, other forms of oppression. And we built up a pretty strong and solid following of folks who, again, are coming not to shame, not to blame, not to attack, but to really look at some of the toughest issues associated with this work, and not just to talk about it, but to really do some things once they go back. And so that's where we are right now. As we look at these next 25 years, I think we've all seen with January 6th, the insurrection. I mean, white supremacy, white supremacists, I mean, they're active. They're really out there, and in some cases, in many places and spaces that they've never been before since the 60s publicly. I mean, it's not, remember back in the days when they used to wear hoods and we didn't know whether they went to the meeting or not? Now they're saying, nah, here I am. What we're saying to people, if you're going to be in an environment where white supremacy and white supremacists are going to be out there publicly in this way, you got to have some skills. You got to have an understanding of your power, your privilege. You got to be able to love. Can you love a white supremacist? Woo! Can you coexist? Can you solve problems? Are you willing to be in conversation? I mean, these are, we think, some of the challenges over the next 25 years as we look at the landscape of America, issues of diversity and inclusion. And often there's not a space in place to have that kind of conversation, have that kind of learning. So that's the White Privilege Conference. That's what it's all about.
Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., founder of the White Privilege Conference, speaking with us in 2022. Up next, Sideways team member Norma Johnson spoke with Ted Saltveit. He came to the 2024 White Privilege Conference from Northern California.
Why are you here, and how does that connect with what you do or envision in our world?
I'm a 7th and 8th grade English teacher at a predominantly white school that has significant numbers of students of color and faculty of color. As an English teacher, my colleagues and I are trying to present books that provide windows and mirrors for all of our students. So they're looking at a wide range of literature, and a lot of that literature talks about our identities, race, gender, sexuality, etc. I'm here specifically as a white educator to work on my game, to have greater knowledge of my positionality and how it appears and looks and plays out to my students and colleagues so that I can become a better teacher.
Do you have any particular reflections, personal reflections from the conference? Like Any challenges, surprises, inspirations?
Many. This is my second WPC. I do a lot of work with white colleagues at my school around a white caucus, a white anti-racist caucus, and also with students at my school around masculinity and whiteness. This conference challenges me to think about ways that I can be a part in dismantling white supremacy. That seems like a massive load for a simple English teacher in Northern California. But it also gives me some tools to think about small steps I can take to work towards that goal.
And did you have any challenges?
Oh, many. Many. You know, I have to, it definitely makes me think about my current practice and where I'm perpetuating white supremacy and where I am a bystander to white supremacy and where I can be an effective accomplice to people who are doing good work. Everything that I am charged with doing in a private school, private schools largely were founded to be white havens. Everything that I do is centered around white supremacy, so it becomes this kind of overly massive challenge in my head, and I need to meet people and work with people who are doing their own work to get some ideas about how I can take the steps to start being more effective in my work.
So what do you feel that you are going to bring home to your community from this conference?
I feel like in my work as a leader of a white caucus group, I have some tangible exercises we can do at a group that will take us out of our heads into our hearts. I've also met some wonderful people, including the poet Norma, who are helping me see that when I work with my heart, I have a better way of connecting with other people. When I can get to emotions, which again goes completely counter to the way I was raised and have lived most of my life, I can have a broader perspective of the world.
What would you say to people that might be considering coming to this conference but aren't sure?
I would say that this could change the way that you view the world and teach, that you're going to go through some hard times of self-reflection and really have to confront ways that you fall short as a person or as an educator. But also you're going to leave with some hope that you've got a better toolkit. I think a lot of white folks don't grow up with great toolkits for working with people who are different from them and from understanding positions of power. They are normalized for us to be in charge, as we just heard a speaker talk about, rather than as listeners and as accomplices. So I think that for people who are thinking about going, and I would really encourage all white educators to go, it's going to be challenging. And yet, hopefully, you will leave with some tools and some hope about you becoming a better educator and a better person.
2024 White Privilege Conference attendee Ted Saltveit, speaking with Norma Johnson. We also spoke with Martha Hurwitz, who came to the conference from Seattle.
I'm here because I work as an equity and anti-oppression coach and consultant and facilitator. And I knew I would be able to see a lot of facilitation here, see a lot of different styles, pick up some tricks, spend time with other facilitators, share stories, figure out who's doing what, what's working, what's not, what are we struggling with. So in some ways it was a peer-seeking interest in coming here. And then I knew there was lots of content that I'd pick up on.
So I infer from that it's your first time?
Yes, this is my first time.
Anything different about this conference or particularly special, remarkable?
I've been to other conferences on the topic, but what stands out about this one is just the duration, the fact that it's 25 years old and that people keep coming back year after year. So that's interesting. Like, it has its own culture within it of people who come back. It's kind of like a camp reunion, and I love camp. So that's appealing to come be around and see and sit in on. And witness.
So you, as a facilitator, you study the art and the craft of facilitation. What stands out to you having been here and observed other facilitators? What are you taking back?
There's a wide range of skills, of course, in any profession. And what I'm particularly interested in is facilitators who take the teachings about white supremacy culture into their facilitation style and design. Not just content. Content's covered, that's the easier part, but how to infuse how you design a workshop or a training or a teaching of any kind with anti-oppression principles and actions. So I saw a variety of that. It's kind of it's a primary interest when I go into a workshop, is I'm paying attention to how the facilitator is doing it. If it's just lecture, I feel like it's a lost opportunity for demonstrating equity-based techniques or anti-oppression techniques. And I saw a wide variety of some really beautiful circle-based, equity-focused, lots of engagement, lots of relationality, which is the stuff that I'm interested in learning about. I saw a lot of that. I saw a wide variety. I did an institute on advanced facilitation techniques, and it was fabulous with Natalie. And there are many things that I gained from that, including talking to the facilitators who participated. Every day afterwards, we keep meeting up and sharing notes. So some specifics. She had a way of, the simple break into threes. But then she did the next round of breaking into threes, where have one person from your group go join a different group. Make sure it's two people you haven't spoken to yet. That's all great. And then she did a third round. So it gets harder and harder to find a group where you haven't spoken to anyone. It added a level of have I talked to you? Yeah, okay, I've talked to you. That really helped us connect to who we've connected with. And help keep the relationality aspect high.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm excited if the conference is in my region next year. It'd be fun to present something and have people who I know come so that we carry the conversation on.
That's Martha Hurwitz speaking with us at the 2024 White Privilege Conference. Norma Johnson also spoke with Aubrey Kent, who came to the conference from Tacoma, Washington.
Why did you come to the White Privilege Conference, and how does it connect with what you do or what you envision in the world?
Well, I'm here because of the fact that I work with a nonprofit organization, Community Network Council, abbreviated CNC, and we've been working with Dr. Moore for about 3 to 4 years. At least I have been with him. But the CEO of the nonprofit, she's been working with him longer, and there's become a partnership between his organization and her organization, and we have been promoting his books by teaching his curriculum. And I'm part of the CNC's professional development team, and so we came, and this trip we presented the course that was written through his organization, Brilliant Black Girls.
This work that you do in the world, how do you feel it relates to what you've been experiencing here at the conference?
The experience I have received here is seeing how so many diverse groups of people have come together and showing and sharing their information from all walks of life. And to me, it's important that that's what the world should look like. We're all together, we're all working together for the same cause and trying to stamp out injustices and racism. My whole life has been that, trying to get justice and showing, displaying anti-racism.
And in your experience here at the conference, were there any things that particularly inspired you or challenged you? What are your personal reflections from this experience?
Oh, there was so much in this conference that could inspire you. That I mean, if anybody who comes here and not inspired to do more, you have to ask yourself, why were you even here? Because it was so much there. I like the fact that you bring it out and you don't mind seeing what is wrong and how we need to try and resolve it, not by stepping on other people, but by showing them about there's a different way of doing it without always putting forth that person who thinks they're in charge instead of coming to the table collectively to work things out. The one thing that I really enjoyed was the keynote speaker, Courageous Conversation. That was really good. I've enjoyed all the poetry because there's a message in each poem, and that has been just like just takes it in, and you kind of like, it's like having a good glass of iced tea on a hot summer day. You just go, that was real good. Need another sip.
Oh, that's so great. With all of that, what do you feel that you will be taking home to your community from this experience at the conference?
I'll be taking back with me the knowledge of knowing how to better interact and to identify racial injustice, whether it's verbal or and sometimes it could be physical, because there have been people killed in the Tacoma area, young black men, and they was exonerated, even though all the evidence shows you can't shoot someone in the back and think that, oh, wait a minute, we thought you had a gun. No, no, no. Had no weapon. It was when everything came out in the trial, there was no weapon. And so it's like with all the police got exonerated. And so those are the things that it just gives me even more of a fighting spirit to go in and go, these things need to be fixed, and those police officers should have received some form of justice other than don't worry about it. It's all good.
Thank you for that. If someone was curious about coming to the White Privilege Conference, what would you say to them?
Come with an open mind. Come with an open mind, willing to accept the fact that there has been a lot of injustices done, primarily to people of color. It didn't matter whether you was born here or you came here later. So come prepared to have an open mind, and then when you come with an open mind, take the parts out in which you can benefit others in your own community. Don't just come and go, I came, okay. No, come and say, I'm ready to roll up my sleeve. It may be just a little increment, maybe just a tenth of something, but just the fact that you made a little change is better than no change at all.
That's Aubrey Kent speaking with Norma Johnson at the 2024 White Privilege Conference. To conclude this episode, we go back to the conference founder, Dr. Eddie Moore, for his thoughts on privilege, progress, and the possibilities ahead.
Sometimes for me, talking with people about privilege doesn't start with white. It doesn't start with economics, because that may be true for those folks, that they did work hard, that maybe some privileges haven't come to them because they're white. And so what I do in cases like that is start with areas of privilege that are low-hanging fruit, so to speak. The fact that I can leave my house, even in a snowstorm, knowing that I'll be okay to walk to the mailbox, not worrying about how many steps or what degree the ramp is in reference to my driveway, because I have ability privilege to be able to operate, not having any concern around that. So that's sometimes something that people can be in agreement with. And that's where I try to start, because sometimes starting with race as a part of the privilege conversation, or even economics sometimes, even religion in some cases, can be a real triggering and difficult starting point. So it's not that it's just basic in that the understanding of that. It's just, I think, basic in that we can all pretty much relate to that in many cases when it comes to areas of privilege. And so I start with ability as opposed to starting with race or economics.
You've been doing the work a long time. You and other people have been doing the work for a long time. Is there something just intractable in human nature that won't allow us to go much further than we are? Is there something we just don't understand about the nature of power that keeps us from moving further?
What comes to mind when I look at the arc of the universe, the arc of oppression, of inequities, and even though we see some, what seems to be the more things change, the more things stay the same results, we have to remember, and I learned this watching Professor Ibram Kendi talk a little bit about, his work and Stamped from the Beginning. And he said something about there was a time in American history when emancipation seemed impossible. Like people thought we'd be in chains forever. It made me think about things like Obama. And I remember thinking, America, they're never gonna elect a black man to be president. Come on, right? And 2 terms. And I remember thinking about, even as a sports guy, I think about the Washington football team and the fact that they took away that mascot. I never thought. And now we have the Cleveland Guardians, right? Removing Chief Wahoo. I mean, these are things that have happened right in our lifetime, right before our eyes. And so I think to some extent, yes, there are some things that maybe human nature wise, it seems like maybe ending white supremacy is not possible. But then again, I look at some of the sacrifices of our elders and what they've been able to accomplish. And the fact that a young Black crackhead like me has now a PhD and founded a conference called the White Privilege Conference and have thousands of people gathering, at least pondering this question and willing to go back into their spaces and places and push and challenge. I think, yes, sometimes humanity tells me maybe we're at the limit, but then again, you'll see somebody emerge out and come up with some idea, some opportunity, and says, you know what, 1619, right? Who thought we now have this project in our hands, inspiring young people, coming from a young sister who was inspired in a high school, in a school system in Iowa, to produce a worldwide project that's changing people's minds, inspiring people's minds. So I think that's what I'm excited about, is not the limits of humanity, but the possibilities that we've been able to spring into or conjure up to blossom across the world. Humanity still got a few surprises embedded inside of it. And that's what I'm excited about and hoping and wanting to be a part of, not only maybe contributing, but I think what I think about as an educator now is planting a seed that will explode into an oak tree. I may not see it. I may never see that oak tree in my lifetime, but I want to be one that's out there planting those kinds of seeds. And that's what I'm excited about.
Dr. Eddie Moore Jr. speaking with us in 2022. The 2025 White Privilege Conference is happening March 26th through the 29th in Hartford, Connecticut. To get more information and register for the conference, visit theprivilegeinstitute.com. That's theprivilegeinstitute.com. Thanks for listening to Well, That Went Sideways. We produce new episodes twice a month. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts and on our website, sidewayspod.org. We also have information on our guests, interview transcripts, and links to more conflict resolution resources. That's sidewayspod.org. Our production team is Mary Zinn, Jess Rao, Norma Johnson, Alexis Miles, Alia Thobani, and me, Sam Fuqua. Our theme music is by Mike Stewart. We produce these programs in Colorado on the traditional lands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations. To learn more about the importance of land acknowledgement, visit our website, sidewayspod.org. And this podcast is a partnership with the Conflict Center, a Denver-based nonprofit that provides practical skills and training for addressing everyday conflicts. Find out more at conflictcenter.org.